Hello everyone! It's finally time to do the Disventure Camp tier list. It's been an extremely long time coming. I feel like I promised to do this like since the finale came out. I don't remember when the finale came out. I think it was like 2 months ago now. But you know, a lot of delays, a lot of stuff got in the way, but now it's here. So, let's do this. So, I'm going to rank all 14 of the contestants based on how much I like them, you know, as a character, through writing, whether or not, I don't know, there's just the factors that you put usually in a tier list. Now, I'm going to try my best. I'm not perfect, but I'm going to try my best to not put too many, like, headcanons or, you know, oh, they had potential, but it's like, squandered, or anything like that. I don't want to put too much of my own personal, what I wish the characters were like. I know that it's going to be kind of unavoidable for some, but I'm going to try to keep this as objective as possible with the text that I was given, not the text that I want to make. As someone who makes fanfiction, of course, it would be very easy for me to be like, oh, why didn't they do that? Why didn't they do that? But, you know, I'm going to try to really see from an objective perspective where I wish each of the characters could have gone, you know, how much I like them within the show that was presented to itself, and not so much like what I could have wished. For example, I could say stuff like, oh, James only acted this way because of yada yada yada. But if it's not like explained in the episode, then that's not me liking them for liking him as the character he is, but rather me liking him for the headcanon I made up that is not super confirmed. I don't know if that made any sense, but yeah, if you dislike or like my opinions, please let me know. I'm curious to see what your opinions are. We all have different opinions, and they're all valid. So let's go in boot order. Let's start with Oliver here, because he's the very first one. Now, I think Oliver, conceptually, is super interesting. It's not really anything we've seen before in any of these fan seasons. He's a intern from previous seasons who is now he's now a contestant in the game. Now, obviously, when he gets eliminated, he becomes an intern again, so it's now this, like, roundabout way. He's really this, this connection between the old and the new, the old, quote-unquote, Total Drama seasons, or even Adventure Camp seasons, which was season 1 of Disventure Camp, which is coming out soon. By the way, please check Odd Nation cartoons out. Go, if you're willing, then please give them some donate to them on Patreon. They really deserve it, and they really need it. I guess they don't really need it, but please give it to them by all means. Support their work. They're really hardworking, and they really are here to make you smile with their episodes. Anyway, Oliver, he is someone who is really this bridge between Chris McClane and Crystal. I know we can't really reference Chris that much. We can't really reference Total Drama that much, but for the most part, he's someone who I think can be this figure who really connects the two. Now, do they do anything with it? Not really. They don't really do much with it. After episode 1, the traits of, like, oh, Oliver, he was an intern on previous seasons, he has a bit of trauma over the previous administration, and how challenges are, and, you know, being on like, a game show. We don't really get that in any of the other episodes. I think episodes 2 to 13, he's just kind of a nice guy. Which is a shame, because I think that, you know, if I'm putting my little spin on things, it would be like this thematic bridge between, like, oh, Miss Crystal, you're the daughter of your dad, but you're not that bad. Or, you know, you're just as bad as your dad, which he does do, admittedly. But more to the extent that, like, she earns his trust via her being, like, a nice, considerate person, you know. But, like, what we're kind of given is that Oliver is just a nice guy. Like, there's no real connection to him and Chris McClane or Crystal McClane. And because of that, I feel like a lot of Oliver's story just feels very impersonal. He feels very like an audience surrogate, where, I mean, that is what he is, an audience surrogate. He's supposed to be like the lens for the viewers in this, like, wacky world of characters. And that's fine, except we already have Aiden and Hunter and Allie and even Lake at times, where it's like, we don't need another, just, like, nice person. So I think his story is very surface level because of that. The episodes we're presented with is somewhat surface level, because it doesn't feel personal to him. It feels like any character, if they were eliminated first and became an intern, like Rosa, for example, if Rosa was eliminated first, then it could be like, wow, Crystal, you're not a nice person. You know, then she goes to the woods, meets Connor, and then Connor's like, no, you give her a chance, and then Rosa gives her a chance, and then Crystal's a nice person again. It's like the fact that Oliver is an intern in previous seasons doesn't really play a role, despite the fact that conceptually it's a super interesting concept to have him back, especially because he's not Dakota. Dakota is a very self-centered person who kind of got her karma via becoming a mutant, because she was, like, looking for fame, and she ended up becoming, quote-unquote, the biggest thing ever. Oliver is a nice guy. And that's really all he is after episode 1. He's just a nice guy, and that's fine, but I think that we don't really need a nice guy. I think in this kind of show, where it would really benefit from having all these different, diverse storylines, having just a nice guy really undermines it. Also, I guess he's there to be part of Crystal's support crew. Like, you're not a bad person at all, Crystal, but Marcus does it better. I'd say it, but Marcus does it a lot better. And yeah, no, a lot of Oliver's stuff is like the stuff with Chris McLean. Again, can't really mention it, but it's super interesting to see how he's like the person who's been in both generation of father and daughter, and yet it doesn't really play a role in how he perceives Crystal or how he carries his way of doing things, right? And I think that's a darn shame. In fact, like I believe episode 7, Crystal does the challenges by herself without Oliver, and it's a big mess. Which is like, oh, Oliver, he's the one who takes care of all the challenges, he's the one who's setting them all up. But it's like, we don't really get that other than a few mentions of it. It's like, I don't know. Maybe like, I do all the work around here, Crystal, you don't do anything. You don't do anything, alright? You're abusing me. I don't know. I'm gonna put him in C. I think that what we're given is just very surface level. And that's why I look at the whole Crystal plotline as very surface level. It's nice when Lake is involved, but for the most part, Oliver is like, I don't know, he just feels very secondary to what should be the super thematic tie-in to the whole parental neglect theme, right? He is the bridge from the old seasons, and we don't really get pretty much anything of that. And I get it, again, fresh TV, but yeah. Next up we have Carol, who I think, let's do Kai first, because Kai is, Carol returns. Of course, Kai, and I'm going to be biased here, because, yeah, I'm Kai. They gave him a very short storyline. It's only 3 episodes, of course. I think that his gimmick could have gotten very old, like, Total Drama Oskai Island has, like, a hippie type of character who I would say gets old immediately. I think Kai, yeah, if you didn't like him in episode 1, that's totally valid, because he's, I feel like you'd think, oh, he's just a Dawn ripoff and his voice is annoying, because, like, yeah, he used to sound like this, and my microphone was much, much worse. But, like, after that, I gave him this voice. They gave him a short arc. He's just, like, hippie guy, and then he has outrage because, he believes in the good of people, but then you will kind of, abuses him, and he has an outburst because he's being mean to, like, Maggie and stuff. And I think it's short and sweet. It didn't overstay its welcome. I think that they had a vision for him, a very short vision, and they matched it. So I can't put him too low, because, I feel like Kai's one of the few characters where it's like, I see what they were going for, and they accomplished it. It also helps that Kai was limited in episode 3. I feel like the weakest streak of the season happened between episodes 4 and episode 9. So him and Connor managed to avoid that well, as competitors. They were obviously there as little cameos, but for the most part, Kai and Connor managed to avoid that. I think that being said, Kai is someone who he's very maybe if you're stretching two-dimensional character, and like that's the point of him, right? I'm not really asking for more because yeah, we got what we wanted, and that's good. I don't think we ever need to see him again. I think I would love to see him again just because I'm the voice actor for Kai, but I think that from a writing perspective, he's done, and I think they did a good job. I think that a reason why episodes 1, 2, and 3 feel like their own trilogy, I would say, is that like you could have a stopping point in episode 3 and it would be like relatively satisfying, even divorced from the fact that episode 4 is just not that good, is because Kai and Connor, they just have very solid endpoints, and it does feel like, okay, this is the end of the beginning, now it's time for the middle, and unfortunately the middle is not good. So yeah, Kai, I'll put him in B tier. I'll put him above Oliver because at least with Kai they had a vision. It's a very simple vision, but they did it. Whereas Oliver, I feel like there was a lot that just, I don't know, it's just very simplistic and not that interesting for me. Connor is next. I think Connor's a very good character. I think Connor is one of the best characters. I don't think the writers were really expecting it to be. And I think it's a simple fact that Connor talks to pretty much everyone. Like, he talks to Kai, he talks to Oliver, he talks to Allie, he talks to... Does he talk to Lake? I don't know if he talks to Lake. He talks to Hunter, he talks to... Does he talk to Rosa? I don't remember. He talks to Carol, he talks to Yule, he talks to Riya. And I think that's about it, actually. But, like, the fact that he talks to 8 of the characters is, I think, the most. I think a big problem with the season is that, like, a lot of the characters just did not interact with others, so it felt like a lot of simultaneous yet isolated plot lines rather than one unified, cohesive season with characters who were really bouncing off each other. We didn't really get that. We had, like, many plots that were just very, separate from one another. And I think Connor really was able to bridge the gap. So, Connor and Oliver are voiced by the same guy, who is, like, kind of a loser. That's a joke, by the way. But I think that when it comes to Connor, he has, like, what I would have wished that Oliver had done for Chris and Crystal. Connor is someone who really bridges the storylines together. Same with Rosa, actually. Rosa actually does this in the later episodes as well. And I think that does wonders for him. It's very unique. I think this season has a lot of unique stuff going on for it. It has an intern turned player, turned intern again. We have an old guy. We have a teen mom. We have a Karen type of mom. We have, like, an adult in Riya, who's like a failed actress. We have James, who's like this I know that, you know, Total Drama 2023 did that already, but we have a social media guy. I don't know what it's called, social media influencer. That's the one. Like I think there are a lot of interesting stuff going for it, but Connor is definitely the one that I'm the most intrigued by, because like he's just an older gentleman playing with a bunch of younger folk. It's like it's very strange for him, and he tries to fit in. He's the adolescent, I believe, adolescent. I don't know. That's his archetype name, and I think like the big problem with Connor is that he gets an epiphany after his conversation with Riya in episode 2, but sadly, most of that epiphany is off-screen. Like, when we see him next in episode 3, he's just completely recovered, and I think that's fine. It doesn't need to be too deep or anything like that, but I think that an important moment in his development should not have been off-screen. It should not have been, like, we should have given a bit more details about what exactly made him this way, and it's like he gets called out for acting like a child, but I really don't see it. Like, he breaks the switch. In fact, I think that's the opposite. I think he's acting like an old man, if anything. Carol calls him out for acting like a child, but it's like, does he? I mean, like, he only gets 2 episodes, and he seems like pretty mature about it. Calling Huel out for accusing Kai of making alliances. I don't know. Like, it just feels very disconnected between like what the characters are saying and what we're being presented with. But no, I think Connor has a good arc. I think like him, you know, being this close with Riya is very good. I think that the fact that there was a second elimination in episode 3, coupled with the fact that Connor basically quits for Riya, like, I get it's noble, but it feels very, like, abrupt. It feels like, oh man, I feel like there was a lot more directions we could go with him. Maybe we could see how Connor interacts with some of the other characters, but, no, and I think that's really the secret sauce of Total Drama, is this series where we see these people from different walks of life really coming together and interacting with each other. And kind of like Survivor, where you can have someone from California being best friends with someone from Texas, right? That's so, like, it's a complete mishmash of different ideologies and upbringings. And yeah, Disventure Camp doesn't really do that, sadly. Even though Connor would have been the perfect like juxtaposition with a lot of these younger characters, we don't really get that, sadly. But yeah, no, Connor, for the most part, I think that he has a pretty good streak in episode 3. I think he's considering the fact that he's only in 3 episodes, he's a very good character. He does come back in episode 9 for a little cameo, and then he's back in the finale. And I think in the finale, he's like not nearly as good. I think that for someone who was eliminated very early on, to see him back is super like weird, because it feels like he's ever so slightly different for the most part. And I think him with Riya is good. I think that his dynamic with Riya is very good. I'm surprised. I think that him getting mad is kind of an underreaction, just because Riya in episodes 1, 2, and 3 is super different from episodes 11, 12, 13. But yeah, no, I like Connor. I'll put him in A tier. I can't really justify putting him in S tier. Not that we don't get screen time, but because of the whole off-screen thing I mentioned, and the bigger sin of the season being that we really don't get these interactions. It's a lot up to interpretation. It's a lot up to like, oh, they're doing it off-screen, which I don't like. I mean, you don't need to show everything, but show don't tell is obviously a lot better. You don't need to show literally everything, but you know, there's some moments that I feel like need to be better presented or better projected, and some moments, specifically episodes 4 and 7, or sorry, 4 and 9, really don't do it justice. So yeah, Connor's good though. Connor's good, A tier. Next up we have was it you? Is it you? No, it's Maggie. You know, at first I thought Maggie was like the weakest character of the season. I don't think that anymore, but Maggie is definitely someone who has a very simple arc. It's that she's this shy girl who becomes brave. And I think everyone could have seen that coming. It's just, oh, she's super shy. Her archetype, which I don't like, by the way, is the bullied girl. I think that's a little reductive to her. But like, yeah, she's been bullied her whole life, so she's going to stand up for herself. You in your head, you're like, okay, by the time she's eliminated, she's going to stand up for herself. She's a little one-note. I'd say one of the most one-dimensional characters of the season. Because that's, I mean, okay, she does have a crush on Kai, which is nice. But like, we don't really get much of that. Like, you know, Kai kisses Rosa in the kissing episode. I think he kisses Lake as well. But we don't really see Kai's perspective, or sorry, we don't really see Maggie's perspective on that. We don't really see her being like, oh man, you know, they're my friends, so I'm gonna let it slide, or I'm so jealous, or anything like that. We don't see any perspective other than her being like, her having like a small like face, like. And then episode 4 rolls around, and despite it being her elimination episode, she doesn't really do much of anything in that episode, honestly. Yule, you know, gets swapped because of Riya, and yeah, Maggie doesn't really do much in this episode. Does she even get like no, she had like a secret about like her beating up kids or something like that. But for the most part, she's not really a big force in her episode. Like, it feels like very like kind of like a leftover scenario where her own boot is very, very secondary to the episode. And it's like she has the confrontation with Yule during the elimination because Aiden gets tricked, but it's like you'd think it'd be like a battle of wits or this like interesting way to showcase Yule and Maggie's skills, but no, it's rock paper scissors. It's literally luck. And Yule loses, and it's not satisfying just because like, yeah, he won because of luck. She does punch him in the end, which is nice, but I feel like Maggie's transformation from being like this very shy, insecure, bullied girl to someone who's like a lot braver is very like, it's very, very quick. It's like, it feels more like just more like we have to hit this bullet point, as opposed to something that feels more like it naturally progressed there. And yeah, Yule insults Lake, which is what causes Maggie's outburst, which is like, yeah, that's good that she cares about her friends obviously so much to punch this guy, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, it feels super rushed. It feels that she really gets skimmed over in her own episode, and yeah, and the next time we see her, she's like, now Kai's like warrior goddess friend, basically, you know, they're living in the woods together, and you know, they're happy together, and I think that's great. Again, Maggie, just like Kai, very simple character, not a whole lot, but at least Kai has the moments with Connor and Yule, whereas Maggie, like, she's just kind of the friend character who is there to have a very like brief arc. I don't know. I feel like Maggie punching Yule, that's like what, 10 seconds, whereas Kai's like breakdown and then the scene with Connor, that's like what, like 4 minutes, which is significantly better than, you know, a few seconds, right? I don't know. Do I put Maggie in? I don't know if I want to put Maggie in. Okay, I'll put Maggie in high. I'll put Maggie in low C tier. Again, simple character, but didn't outstay her welcome. And at the end of the day, you know, they had a vision, and I think the execution was not the greatest, but they did have a vision. I do see the vision. It's not a great vision, but I see it. No, sorry, it is a great vision. It's a bad execution, and I think the fact that I can see, you know, point A to point B to point C with Maggie is like, yeah, that's good writing. Next up we have Yule, and I think Yule is a little overrated, honestly. I think that Yule is one-dimensional, barely two-dimensional, barely. But I think Yule is a very great Disc 1 boss. He's very one-dimensional, he's very cartoony, but at the end of the day, that's kind of the point. He gets the job done. I think that episode 1, 2, 3 Yule versus episodes 4, 5 Yule are kind of like a weird juxtaposition. I feel like he kind of goes overboard in episodes 4 and 5, but, you know, that's what I like to see. We like to see this very flamboyant, drama-loving object of chaos. I don't know what there's to say about Yule. I mean, I think that he serves his... I'm gonna put him in A tier because I think that he has a small role and the execution is perfect. You know, he was never meant to last that far anyway. Do I wish we got a little bit more? I mean, I don't know. I'm like conflicted because I do like what we got. I think that Yule is one of the few characters that I'm like, yeah, I would barely change anything about him. I think like giving just a crumb of backstory about like why he does this. We have not the North Korea stuff. We don't need the North Korea stuff. That was like weirdly part of episode 4 is just, hey, here's a lot of random trivia headcanon bullshit. But no, the stuff about like how his parents forced him to be in this dance competition, and it really affects his status quo of wanting to be like someone who wants to be like you know, all business, show business, especially with what Riya becomes later on. I think Riya could have really benefited from Yule's like parallelism. I believe that there was gonna be this small beef between Riya and Yule because of the team swap thing in episode 4. They got cut out, sadly, but I think that could have sincerely helped transition Riya from the early Riya to late Riya. We're gonna talk about Riya when we get there, of course, but yeah, for the most part, Yule, I want Yule to have, if I were to rewrite this, I would give Yule just a little bit of backstory. Not because we need it. I don't think we need it, but I think when a lot of other characters have backstories, some of them being very unnecessary because it doesn't really affect how they treat other characters, like Allie, for example, I think that it wouldn't hurt. I think that you either give him nothing or you give him significant amounts. I think that like giving him like one line about his parents forcing him into a dance competition is like, it's weird because you're leaving this thread hanging that people can write in their fanfics, but like because there's no like payoff, it's like, oh man. You know, I'd rather have nothing or everything. I'd rather have no setup at all or payoff. Not this weird, like, little hanging thread. I wouldn't even call it, like, a thread. It's just, like, a little tease of, like, hey, you'll have some backstory, but we're not going to say it because it's not important, even though Allie's stuff is apparently more important. I don't know. I'm going to increase my brightness on my computer here. Yeah, Yule, A tier. I'm going to put him Did I put him under Connor? I don't know. I don't know, honestly. I'm gonna put Yule above Connor because like Yule just feels more consistent. I feel, yeah, as I said, you know, there is a bit more exaggeration in episodes 4 and 5, but I feel like compared to Connor, where off-screen he really develops off-screen between episodes 2 and 3. I think Yule at least has more consistency. And I mean, yeah, I mean Yule's just, he's so much fun. He's so much fun to have. He doesn't overstay his welcome. He's great. I would change very little about Yule. Next up we have, oh gosh, I don't even remember who is the next boot. Was it Lake? Was it Tess? Was it Tess? It is Tess. Next up we have Tess. And I think Tess is a character that was very invisibilized for good reason. It was on purpose. You know, she doesn't like care about the game. And, you know, right off the bat, I think that having a character who doesn't care is like kind of, I wouldn't say disrespectful, but very like paradoxical to the game. Because obviously, we have to have a reason why we care about these characters. So to have a character that doesn't care, and she never does care, is very like, okay, then why are they here? Why do we care? Why do we personally care about Tess if she doesn't care? Like Gwen in Total Drama Island, she doesn't care at first, but then after meeting friends and growing, we really started rooting for Gwen because it's like, yeah, she has this great development where she meets, you know, Trent, she meets Lashana, she meets Bridget, she meets like all these other people that she, like, you know, cares about, like Jeff. You know, she befriends this party guy that she, you know, in her own social life she would never befriend. Tess is like, she never cares about the game, which is fine, but it's like, then why do we care about her? And then on top of that, she's very intertwined with Hunter and Allie. I think she's one of the least social characters in the game. She only ever talks to Hunter and Allie. But like, I don't know, because like she has this depression storyline, which is very sensitive, of course. You have to be very careful around that. And I feel like it was very surface level. Like any character that had big moments, episodes 4 and 7, but kind of like 9, kind of 4 to 9, really, like, it was not the best it could have been. I feel like it could have been much better handled, the execution. And yeah, no, Tess is someone who I think they really did not utilize that well. But at the same time, it's a lot of like potential that I would have wanted. Now, as I said, this is a list of like what I was presented with, not what I wanted. So I'm trying my best not to, because like, yeah, Tess is like set up for a future season where she makes like friends outside of the game. Not outside of the game, sorry, like outside of her immediate polyamorous relationship. So like outside of Hunter Tess, sorry, outside of Hunter and Allie. But it's like, that's what I'm projecting. You know, that's not like what we were given. Oh man, I'm trying to think. Where would I put Tess? I'm gonna have to put Tess in the C tier. Like I'm gonna put her above Oliver in C tier. I think that there was a vision, and I can kind of see it, but the execution again was not that great. I think that episode 7 is my least favorite episode by a, okay, other than episode 4, episode 7 is my least favorite by a pretty wide margin. There's a lot of writing reasons that I just like, this was not well written at all. Not the boot. The boot is fine. Tess being, you know, sacrificing herself for her friends, that's fine. But I think everything else surrounding, you know, the setup and the payoff and how much screen time they get and, you know, the lack of decisions making, the lack of agency, it's just like, it's just a big mess of an episode. And I think that Tess really suffers from having that be her boot episode. Her and Maggie just really suffer from having really, really bad boot episodes. I don't know. I'm trying to think about what else I can say about Tess. I do like the first few episodes where she's very submissive towards Hunter. I do like the moment in episode 3 where they hug after finding the pills. But I think that episodes 4 to 7, she's just basically non-existent. And it's like, the thing is, I think that out of the love triangle, Tess is probably the best one out of the 3, and she's like high C tier at best. Yeah, I don't know. I like her. I like her as a character, but that's because of the potential she has, not because of the videos and the footage we were given, the content we were given. So I'm gonna have to give her C, sadly. Even though I do personally like her. Like if this is like, you know, my fanfic version, like what I would, how much I think they can grow forward. Tess is like definitely A S tier. I think that having this very similar to Gwen storyline could have heavily benefited her, but like I don't know, it just seems that they chose some pretty bad direction. If they wanted to emulate Gwen, like I get that they don't want to have like a complete carbon copy of Gwen, but at the same time there were some elements that could have been used, and they really just chose like a lot of bad elements. They just, I don't know. It's just a lot of going in directions that I think were not beneficial for the character. I'm trying to think if there are any other Tess moments. I'm really struggling. She has nice moments with Allie. I will say that. I think that Tess really elevates Allie a lot. You know, the moment where they're in the cave was very, very nice. It was very short, of course, and it was very like not nearly as deep as you'd expect. And partially is because I believe the voice actor did not submit her line. Not Tess's voice actor. I mean Allie's voice actor. So we did lose a bit of storylines there. But for the most part, Tess is a great character. But that's me projecting. That's me projecting what I want from her rather than what we were given. Anyway, next up, there is Lake. And I think Lake is the best character of the season. I think Lake is the best character of the season. I don't know if I'd put her in S. I think I'd put her very high A, but not necessarily S, because I think there are some faults. I think that Lake is the character that has the best vision. There was a vision. They accomplished it. And I think that out of all the characters, Lake has the best vision for the longest. Lake is the character with the most direct vision, who also lasts the longest. I think everyone else here, it's a bit murky, the vision they were going for. I think Kai and Yule and Maggie and Connor even, you can see where they're going. And I think Lake accomplishes that in the most amount of episodes. I think everyone else who has more episodes than her, it's a bit murkier. Does that make sense? Like the best vision for the most episodes? I don't know. She has this storyline about the parent stuff, and it really bounces off with Crystal's own insecurities. Like, Lake and Crystal is so much better than Crystal and Oliver. In terms of, like, how they really help each other grow, right? And I think that, like, yeah, I don't know. It's very solid. Like, I don't know what to say other than it's really good. I think my biggest complaint about Lake is that it feels like the story kind of takes a pause to really focus on her. You know, Crystal's not a contestant, of course. And, like, I know that having these dynamics is super influential for how much we enjoy a character, seeing them really mesh and blend with other characters. Not blend, what was the word I'm looking for? Clash with other characters. But the thing is, I think Lake didn't get enough of that. I think she does get good moments with Crystal, but I think that her interactions with other people, namely Aiden and Rosa, are very supplementary. I think we get a lot of Lake's perspective of her own problems, but we don't see her perspective of other people, whether it be Rosa or Aiden. It's like, oh, you know, Aiden, you know, he has a crush on James, but I don't know if that's a good idea. Or maybe like, oh, you know, I'm gonna work with Aiden because I want to get rid of Yule. Yule's an asshole. Yule's been bullying everyone. Stuff like that. We don't really get that. I think that Lake's like personal storyline outside of the game is very strong, but like within the game as a contestant in this game show, it's not a lot, right? I think that her dynamic with Rosa and with Aiden is very, like, it feels very secondary. It feels like it's not nearly as important, and like that's fine. I get that it's not nearly as important for her primary storyline, but it's not like what I would imagine to be like a 60-40 split. It's more like a 90-10 split, where it's like the personal family stuff is 90% and the game stuff is like 10%, and it's like, again, so it's like we are stripped from having these interactions with the other characters. And like, you know, this is for Rosa, who comes a bit later, but Lake is someone who I wish we got more content with her dynamics with other people. And Rosa is someone who I think we should have gotten more content about her own individual personal content, right? I wish we got more of Lake's family life, and we got more of, I wish we got more of Rosa's like family life at home, and we got more of Lake's personal life with her friends in the game, right? So like, yeah, and you know, spoiler alert, but I think Lake and Rosa are probably two of the best characters in the season. I'm gonna put Lake as the best right now. I think she's definitely better than Yule. She has a vision, they achieve it, she's an arc. It's great. I don't really have anything wrong to say about Lake. I think that I don't mind the fact that she was eliminated in episode 8. I think that she was always going to be like this decoy protagonist. Like, you thought she was going to be, you know, the winner, easy growth arc to the end. No, she was eliminated in 8th place, I think. Was it 8th? Yeah, it was 8th. I don't think that was a bad idea. I don't think she was ever set up to win, but I think, you know, especially because, like, the game was never a big focus on her own merits. But I mean, like, yeah, no, very, very well done character. I can't in good conscience put her in S, but like, high A, definitely. High A, definitely. I don't think any character is going to be an S. It's sad to say. And by the way, I'm going to say that despite the fact that Lake's really, you know, her growth is in the weakest bunch of episodes 4 to 8, she's really the shining light in those episodes. I really think that her parts are the best parts in those episodes. I don't think that... I think she's the only character that got off scot-free from derailment from those episodes. I do wish, again, we got more, especially in episode 5, where it's her, James, Yule, and Aiden. She's like the only girl involved in any of that. and it's like, you know, Aiden's her friend, James and Yule are like, you know, these two antagonists. I wish we got more of her perspective. Of course, when we have the "don't say such toxic things" scene, like literally says nothing in that scene. Like, we don't get a confessional, we don't get anything. I would have liked to have, considering the fact that it's only 4 people going to that elimination ceremony, I wish we got a bit of Lake's perspective on the matter. Or even, after Yule's gone, you know, it's Lake, Yule, and James. I wonder what she thinks. Oh man, if we lose, it's gonna be really tough. Yeah, you know, obviously the merge is immediately afterwards, but like, just having a bit of where she's at in the game would have really, you know, helped out. You know, seeing where she views herself in the game would have definitely helped her out a lot. But yeah. Anyway, next up we have Carol. Carol's like hard. Carol's really, really hard because I think that the first 2 episodes, she's one note. She gets eliminated second. You know, she has animal stuff, which is very, 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 like, not important. You know, it's very secondary, I feel, to the Karen nature of it all. But, like, you know, she's the big move that gets James angry at Aiden, right? She's the big misplay, I would say. By the way, episode 2, James' move, that was awful, okay? James, you're stupid. You're impulsive, you're stupid, okay? Don't defend it. Don't defend James' episode 2. That was an awful move. There's no universe where that's a good move. Anyway, Carol, I don't mind episodes 1 and 2. I think Carol was kind of forgettable. I think, but that's because episodes 1 and 2 were, like, the starting points. It's like, I feel like at that point in the season, you're not super attached just yet, and so, like, by the time you reach episode, like, 7 or 6 or 7, you're like, oh yeah, Carol was in this game, I forgot. Then she returns, and it does wonders for a character, the fact that she got to have a second chance as the Night Butcher. But I think that episode 9, and honestly the end of episode 8, we really lose a lot. She does say the line of like, oh, you know, I've been going to therapy more, I've been getting better as like manipulation, to manipulate James and Aiden. And then she doesn't vote for James when she had the perfect opportunity to vote him out. That is one of the biggest like plot holes as to why she didn't vote for James. And it's never explained. It's never like, oh, I thought I didn't have the numbers, so I didn't vote for him. If I knew I had the numbers, I would have done it. He only needed 1 more vote to be eliminated. But no, it's just she votes Lake instead of James, causes a 4-3-1 vote, and then immediately after, she's like, oh man, I want to get rid of James and Aiden. Like, I don't know, man. It's just, it's very, like, not, it feels like you're dumbing down characters for the plot, and that's the big criticism of the middle episodes 4 and 9, is that the characters are really dumbed down for the sake of, like, getting from point A to point B in a very unrealistic and not natural way. Carol, in episode 9, is very, like, you know, we have the manipulation thingy with James and Aiden, and so what's your big plan? Is to use a spider. And then James finds out right away. There's no, you know, gaslighting, there's no rumor spread, there's no, like, oh, I will plant the seeds of doubt. No, it's just here, spider. And, like, I get it, she's not supposed to be this big mastermind, but it's like, I don't know, I understand that she's not supposed to be, like, this very smart character. She's supposed to be, like, impulsive and whatnot, but for being this big bad that James and Aiden have to defeat, it doesn't work if your big bad, you know, that's the bonding moment, is someone who is not that competent. Right? Especially if James finds out right away, and Aiden doesn't even doubt him, he just immediately believes him. Aiden's just like, yeah, no, I believe you. I'm saying this, and I'm also, like, a fan of episode 9, by the way. I just want to point that out. I do like episode 9, and I know that's, like, one of my biggest hot takes. Some people might not like the fact that I like episode 9. I hate episode 7, I like episode 9. And the reason why I like episode 9 is because episode 7 kind of conditioned me to be like, okay, just try not to take it too seriously. So by that standard, episode 9 is kind of elevated. Anyway, you know, when your big bad is someone who is, not big bad, but when someone who is thematically, like, the reason why James and Aiden don't like each other, and you overcome it a second time, that's a very good concept. I really like that concept, and I think they don't execute it the worst. I think it's pretty decent. But I think that it's just, you know, Carol kind of, like, is not that much of a unredeemable jerk, basically. And, like, you kind of do feel bad for her, because Aiden is just like, oh, who cares about a spider, even though that's a living thing. And it really makes James and Aiden out to be, like, designated heroes. Especially considering the fact that James did wrong Carol really badly. Like, she was wronged. That was awful. Like, I don't know. There is, like, some people, I think it's actually a decent amount of people, who think, like, oh, Carol, you know, she was the hero. She was the one who was supposed to split them up. I don't know. I'm projecting a lot of, like, what I would have wanted onto Carol. But I think that from the show we were given, it's very wonky. Carol's whole episode 9 is, and end of episode 8 is very wonky. I do give credit, episode 1 and 2, if they had a vision, they accomplished it. It was like a short and sweet one. I do like the fact that she is, you know, the hurdle that causes James or Aiden to not trust James, and then later it really brings them closer together. I like that contrast, but like Carola as a character, it's like, I don't know. I'm gonna give her. I'm gonna rank her under Maggie. I can't put her in D because, like, again, episode 1 and 2 were not the worst for her, but like I'm gonna put her in C or low C, sadly, lowest out of everyone so far. But it's immediately gonna get stomped. It's immediately, you know, you think she's gonna be the lowest? No, she's immediately not gonna be the lowest. Allie's D tier. I don't know what there's to say about Allie. Allie gets nothing. Allie gets episode 1. You get like a nice moment of meeting Connor, which is perfect because, like, oh, she has a grandpa, and maybe Connor can be like, you know, a reminder of her grandpa. We can have a granddaughter dynamic. No, we get nothing. We get nothing. Hunter and Allie, nothing. It's literally she's the most vanilla character ever. We get nothing about the fact that she's a gamer. She is super bland. She doesn't have any agency. She's never relevant. It's like, when we were about to go to episode 9, it was so obvious to me that Allie was going home just because she had zero agency in the plot. And she's just there for fan service. Like, at least Tess has, you know, this thing that reminds you of Total Drama Gwen. Allie has nothing. Like, her design is cool, but that's really as far as it goes. And I feel like any Allie fans only like her because conceptually cute gamer girl is very, like, endearing. But Allie, oh, man, poor Allie. That's all I gotta say. Poor Allie. She really was robbed of having anything. Like, I think that this season has too many, because this season was a season where fans get to submit their own OCs, and then the Odd Nation Cartoons crew gets to, like, really tweak. Obviously, if you're gonna submit a character, it's gonna be more protagonistic because it's like, you know, you're submitting someone who you really want. Like, that's why I really respect whoever submitted Connor. That's really unique. But I'm supposed that the people that submitted, you know, Hunter, Allie, Aiden, even Lake, even Oliver, were a lot more protagonistic-y than people would have preferred. Like, the fact that so many of these protagonistic-y characters make it all the way to the end is a big reason as to why this season feels kind of meh in terms of writing by the end. And, like, yeah, I'm happy that Riya and James were the final two, because those are, like, you know, when you look at that merge, it's like, yeah, those two, and I guess Rosa as well, are the least, like, basic, I'd say, in terms of, you know, purpose and whatnot. So yeah, no, Allie D tier. I don't really know what else there's to say. She gets nothing. She gets like, some people say that, like, Beth in Total Drama Action gets nothing, but no, Allie literally gets nothing. Like, Hunter, it's not bad. When it comes to her pairing, I think conceptually it's not the worst thing in the world, but, like, we get very little, and she's so reliant on him. There are moments in episode 8 and 9 where she talks to Riya, and I don't think that's the worst, but, like, I don't know, I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, there's a future season where Aiden is like, wait, who's Allie again? Who is that? Man, Allie was done so dirty. It's ridiculous. She might generally be the only character in D tier. Next up is Hunter. No, sorry. Next up is Rosa. And I think Rosa, as I said before in the lake cut, Rosa is probably one of the best characters of the season. I don't know where to put her. Would I put her above Yule or under Connor? I'll put her here. No, I'm gonna put her here. And, like, this is big growth for Rosa, because I really did not like Rosa at first, during the first, like, 9 episodes. But then episode 10 and the finale came around, and I was like, you know what, I like Rosa. Rosa's awesome. I think that she was always supposed to be a supporting character, and yes, I wish we got more of that. I wish we got more depth in terms of, like, being a teenage mom, especially because she's only 19. She's 19. She's a very young mom. You'd think she's like 25, 26 based on design and how there's very little reference to it. But no, this is a big deal. She has a 3-year-old daughter at the age of 19. That is a big concept, and you don't need to focus too much on it. I get it. It's a Total Drama-esque cartoon. You don't really have the framing device to really delve on such a deep topic. But I mean, just even seeing the little ways that she treats the other competitors, especially because, like, you know, right off the bat, she befriends Lake and Maggie. Those are the younger characters, 16 years old, 17 years old. It'd be interesting to see her maybe, like, despite being similar in age, she, like, kind of babies them because she's so used to a younger daughter. Maybe, like, we could see a difference in maturity based on the fact that she is so much, you know, older. But all we really get is that she's just a nice friend character, and her morals aren't really challenged, other than with Riya at the very end of episode 10, and we do get a little bit of it in the finale, which is great. but for the most part, she's just a nice friend character. Now, I don't mind, because similar to Connor, she's kind of like a bridge. She really bridges the gap with some people, like with James, with Riya, with Lake, with Maggie, with Hunter. Like, I think that she talks to some of the... She might be one of the characters that talks to the most people, honestly. I feel like she talks to pretty much everyone. Not Allie and Tess, definitely, but pretty much everyone. You know, she's very strategic as well, even though it's not like the main point of her character, but she is very strategic, right? She gets an alliance, she recruits James and Aiden, and they're pretty much on top until Hunter wins immunity and Riya steals the idol, which is not like Rosa's fault. Like, obviously, who could have seen that coming? You know, I think Rosa definitely the most like strategic. She has the most sound mind. She's low-key very deceptive and very like, but at the same time very caring. And I mean, I don't think anyone hates her. I think that Riya had to get rid of her because she was so likable. Yeah, supporting character, but a very good one at best. Whereas Lake, I wish that we got more of Lake's perspective on the other characters. I wish we got more of Rosa's perspective of her home life or of herself. Again, it's kind of like a Yule situation where we get threads of a plotline. You know, in the horror episode where she has to fight the bad guy, she's like, "No, I'm tired of assholes like you," or whatever, to the Night Butcher. And it's like, yeah, could we get more of that? Like, I wonder what her life is like. Well, we do get the webcomic of her school life, and that's very interesting, but I wish we got that in the canon episodes. Just a little bit, just a crumb. That being said, you know, even though these are all things that I wish we got out of Rosa, I do think that the character we were presented with is very solid. I can't really say anything too bad other than rewatching the season, you really realize, oh crap, she is a lot more relevant than I remembered. A lot of the focal decisions in the first few episodes do revolve around her. You know, she's very prominent, I guess, and you wouldn't expect it because like her personality is pretty static. Like, she doesn't really have an arc. I wouldn't consider not liking Riya an arc, because like that's not really an arc. That's just not liking one person. Like, she already has proven to not like people. She's not like a super nice character that just loves everyone. No, I mean, like, the horror episode proved that there are people in the world that she doesn't like if you cross her. So like I wouldn't call the hating Riya thing an arc. That's just like a progression of who she is as a person. So yeah, she's a static character, but like in terms of supporting characters, she's really likable. And oh yeah, they did a really good job with her. I think that Lake and Rosa are the two best characters of the season. Like these four characters are the ones that I'm like, yeah, they definitely had a vision and they accomplished it. Hunter is a character who I have the biggest beef with. I think that Hunter in episodes 1 to 3 is very different from Hunter from episodes 4 to 7, who's very different from Hunter from episodes 8 to 9, who's very different from episodes 10 to 13. Like, you get a lot of different interpretations of Hunter, and it becomes very hard to tell what the point of him is. Is he socially awkward? Does he not know what he's saying sometimes? Is he like this shonen anime protagonist? Is he a player? That's his archetype. He's the player. Is he supposed to be this another audience surrogate? And it's just a lot of defining moments of Hunter we do not get. Like, the only bit of backstory we get is that, oh, you know, his mom is depressed in episode 3, and that's it. That's the only crumb we get. We get nothing about, like, why he's here, what he likes. Actually, no, that's a lie. We do get stuff in episode 1 and 2 about, like, you know, he plays strategy games. But, like, obviously, if you're gonna make him a dummy dum-dum, then don't put that there, alright? Don't set up a Chekhov's gun that you're never gonna do, right? You know, Hunter is... He's a challenge beast, which is nice, but like we don't get his perspective on anything. We don't get his perspective on the rest of the game. We don't really get him talking about Rosa, Riya, Aiden, James, Lake. Nothing. Okay, we do get a little bit of, like, but it's like episode 6, and it's kind of like, it's like low-key like a self-centered confessional. Which, like, I know he's saying it as a joke, kind of, but like it's hard to tell. It's really hard to tell because, you know, we don't get a lot of him. He's very, like, one-note, saltine cracker kind of character, right? Like a very one-note flavor. I think that the first few episodes where it has the promise, the hint of a promise that he'll be a bigger person in the end of the game was nice. I think the ending with his moments with him and Rosa, once Allie and Tess are gone, he's so much better as a character. I think the finale is fine. It's fine. I mean, like, he's not super bad or anything. Like, it's very quick in the finale, but it's okay. But I think Hunter as a character is very confused because a lot of his bigger moments are just like up to interpretation or off-screen. Right, I'll give you some examples. For example, in episode 4, Tess and Allie are like, Hunter's acting strange, and then Hunter pretty much does nothing the whole episode other than the secret about Hunter knows that the two girls are into him gets revealed. Right, like, we don't see Hunter being strange. We are told that. Show don't tell. We are told that Hunter's strange. We don't see it. Episode 5, we get more of the Hunter's acting strange. You've been acting strange lately, but we don't see it. Like, other than the fact that he's avoiding them, like, that's not really enough to justify it. It's like, please show me Hunter being strange. Show me how he perceives the moment. We don't know how he feels. Like, that's why people have the evil hunter theory for a while, which I don't even think was that bad. Like, some people shit on it. I don't even think it was that bad of an idea, because, like, we actually did get an evil, like, a surprise evil villain thingy with Riya. So I don't think it was out of the line of questioning to think that a character would have eventually turned evil. A character that we don't know a whole lot about, that isn't super fleshed out, would turn out to be, like, pretty darn the secret antagonist by the end of the game. Like, that's clearly not outside the realm of possibility. I think that, like, if you can relate with Hunter, then good on you. But it's like, it's because he's a blank slate, right? Like, I can look at I don't know, like a ragdoll and be like, yeah, that's me, because the ragdoll has nothing on it, so you could, like, implant any features or any personality you want on it. The same can be said for Hunter. Like, the fact that people of, like, a lot of different MBTI types can be like, yeah, he's relatable, just speaks volumes. Not because he's relatable, but because he's such a blank slate. He's just the socially awkward guy, which a lot of people are, you know, especially if you use the internet. If you use if you're on the internet. Anyway, back to Hunter. Man, like, episode 6, right off the bat, he's like, oh yeah, I had a talk with the girls about, like, you know, we should date after the game. Can we see that? Can we not have that off screen? Can we see that conversation, that important conversation that defines the rest of the relationship, that defines the conflict in episode 9 when he kisses Allie and Allie's like, no, don't do that. Can we see that? Like, can we not have all of your important moments happen, you know, without us seeing it? Because it's like, it's so weird, because the love triangle takes so much of the episodes, but it's all, like, the worst parts of the episodes, because it's not the super pivotal moments in their dynamic. And I think Hunter really, really suffers because of it. And I think it's such a shame, because I think Hunter could have been a very interesting, like, big boss battle for Aiden and James to overcome, because he's the immunity beast, right? You know, for all the other characters, I think, you know, maybe, like, a strategic threat who's very, like, you know, he doesn't handle himself the best. He's kind of, not to the level of, like, Rodney or anything like that, but just, like, you know, socially inept. Sometimes he doesn't say the right thing, but no, it's just he comes off very, very confused, and it's like, we don't get, like, anything of his personality. Like, more than Allie, definitely, but, like, we don't get much. I'm not going to put him in D, because I think that the later episodes do a decent job at damage control. I think the first few episodes is a good setup, the last few episodes is good damage control, and the middle is just, God, it's, what the hell is the middle? Like, I'm going to have to put him under Carol. I'm not going to put him in D, but, like, he's definitely low C for me. Barely a passing grade, because, like, there is some level of self-awareness. Oh, and oh my god, the pills thing. So Hunter is called out for acting strange, and so the way that he redeems that image is by admitting that he took Tess's pills, which makes him even more strange. It's like, that's your resolution? It's just a lot of tone-deaf writing from Hunter's part, and the Hunter character, and it's just like, I don't know, man. I don't know, like, I can find him relatable, and I think that's a problem if, like, so many people can find him relatable. Not because he is relatable. Like, I think that God, okay, this is funny to say, but I think, for me, personally, the two most relatable characters in the season are Carol and Hunter. Carol, because, like, I'm kind of, like low-key, like, a male Karen. Very whiny. And Hunter, because, like, he's such a blank slate that I can project anything I want onto him, because, like, very little of it will contradict canon, because we get very little in canon. And yeah, so, that's my rant on Hunter. And sadly, it's funny because he's not even the worst character of the season. Like, Allie's so much worse than him. But yeah, no, Hunter is a lot of, like, what were they thinking? Juice. Anyway, Aiden's fine. Aiden's fine. I think, like, as what I would consider the farthest protagonist-esque character to make, you know, he goes to 3rd place. He's fine. I think 3rd place is so weird because he has the basis of a protagonist, and I think it's a good subversion that he doesn't end up making the final 2. But I think that for the most part, Aiden is kind of repetitive. He's, like, I don't know if I would call him static or not, because I think that, unlike Rosa, where it's like, Rosa does not like Riya, but it's like, she's already proven to not like people who cross her. Aiden is like, I don't really know where we start off. Like, he kind of starts off as a total drama fan. He's like, oh, I like strategy. I like the old seasons. You know, I'm going to talk to Oliver and stuff. This is cool. I'm going to reference, like, the past and stuff. But then after that, he just kind of is super vanilla. He doesn't really get to have a whole lot other than his dynamic with James. He's very whiny as well. Him and Lake are cool, though. Him and Lake are cool. But, like, I don't know. It's very boring, I guess. Repetitive. Like, the conflict with Yule is nice. Episode 4 and 5 are really great for him. And episode 6 is definitely very sweet. But, similar to James, I feel like that there is a lot of confusion going on with him. Like, it's as if, again, just like Hunter, very blank slate, you can project anything you want onto him, which is why he can be relatable, but I don't think that's a good thing. If someone's relatable because they're so empty and there's very little to contradict your own headcanon versus what is canon. I don't know. Like, I think he's better executed than Hunter just because, while the vision is very blurry, I think that in terms of quality, it's more competent than Hunter. He just has a good, he has a beginning and end, and the middle is a bit murky, but like I can see where they were going with it. I'm gonna put him. Oh man, I'm gonna come off so biased if I put Kai. Okay, I'm gonna put him above Kai, just because I can see the vision. I can see what they were going for, and like, you know, there are highlights in the reel. I think episode 7 is not great, not the worst. It just he doesn't exist. Episode 8 is like decent. Episode 9 is like, what are you doing here? Episode 10 he doesn't really exist that much, and then like the other episodes are fine. Like, Aiden gets a lot of hate, but it's like, I feel like if you're gonna direct your hate over someone being, like, boring or, you know, dynamic, then Hunter's right there. But then again, I feel like Hunter and Ellie and maybe Tess are kind of low-hanging fruit, because everyone kind of agrees, yeah, love triangle, not that great. Yeah, no, I mean, Aiden's fine. I mean, they could have done better, especially because he's, like, this protagonisty? I don't know the adjective for protagonist. Focal, main, you know, anime boy kind of structure going on, and then we don't get it. It's like, could have done it better. The fact that a character like this is only B is kind of sad, but it's the struggle. It's the struggle, and that's who Aiden is. Next up, we have Riya, and Riya is someone who I think is very okay. She's fine. Episodes 1, 2, 3, she gets along with Connor, and I think that's great. But then episodes 4 to 9, kind of even 10, honestly, she is very in the background. And I get that episodes 4 to 10 were supposed to function as like she's slowly building up the fact that all publicity is good publicity. You know, you can step on people and you know, treat them badly because you gotta win and you'll get screen time and all that stuff. But it's like the foreshadowing and the setup is really not that good. I think that when Connor leaves, like, yeah, you do get to see the insecure side that she's never like big in Bollywood. Was it Bollywood or Hollywood? I don't remember. In India. But like, I feel like going from that to like pushing Aiden off a cliff, that's like connecting point A to point Q. It's like, it's a very big stretch, and I think that her having these moments, you know, as I said, there was a cut scene with her versus Yule after the swap. You know, we'd have seen their ideologies where it's like, why are you such an asshole, Yule? And then Yule's like, no, it's whatever, all publicity is good publicity, or something like that. I just realized I forgot to mention something about Aiden, but we'll get to that with James, I guess. No, I think that in terms of Riya, it's very like, you know, there's a beginning and an end, but there's no middle. I think the middle is really where I have a hard time not suspending my disbelief. Like, I can suspend my disbelief. One of my favorite characters is Scarlet, so I can't say that a twist villain is like something I dislike. But it's like with Scarlet, you know, we get moments of her getting angry at, you know, working with Max, proving that she can do like all these mechanical gadgets, you know, mentioning that like her brother, you know, she harassed her brother in his sleep and stuff like that. It's like there was seeds there. Could it have been better? Yes, but with Riya, we genuinely don't get any seeds. And it's like when she eliminates Lake, which by all means should be like her first, you know, moment in like this whole I can be cutthroat, you know, realm of possibility. It's like it's portrayed so sympathetically. And dare I say, like, that's not just like weirdly written. That's like deceiving your audience. Like, it creates this thing where you look back and it's like, why was she so sympathetic? Especially in the confessional, she could have been like, I know that was bad, and I know Rosa will probably get mad if she finds out, but it was the right thing to do, and I know that was the right thing to do. Something that's more firm on where she stands, rather than like the most sympathetic confessional ever, where she's like, oh, you know, I hope Rosa doesn't find out, I feel bad, or whatever. I don't remember the exact confessional, but like when I watched it, I was like, there's no way Riya's gonna be a twist villain because she's so sympathetic when she eliminated Lake. But I was wrong. No, I mean, like, it was genuinely deceiving the audience in a way that disservices, you know, the character flow, right? Where you look back and you're like, why was Riya vulnerable in that moment? She really shouldn't have been. And like, yeah, I mean, like, Carol does kind of have a join the dark side moment in episode 9 where she talks to Riya, but I don't know, it falls flat when you also add up the fact that Carol is not that competent of a antagonist. It's like, that was what brought Riya to the dark side? Really? I don't know. It's a lot. Like, Evil Riya, I don't have problems with Evil Riya. I just have problems with the middle of it all. I think the beginning is good, the ending is good. The middle could have been a lot of, like, Riya faces a lot of, like, you know, abuse and a lot of bad things thrown her way. A lot of people are, like, bullying her, and she sees, like, how James and Yule and Carol are all, like, relatively successful in the game, and she's like, you know what? If being a villain is what works, then I'll do it. And maybe we could... I don't know. Again, I'm projecting what I would have wanted, but at the same time, it's like what we were presented with was a sandwich where the middle is just very, like, it's a big stretch, basically. Like, the sandwich gives you, like, I don't know where I'm going with this. It promises to be, like, a bacon sandwich, and it gives you a hint of bacon. It's not even, like a vegan bacon. It's just, like, it's the scent of bacon. It gives you the smell of bacon. You are reminded of bacon, but there's no bacon. It's just bread. It's just 2 pieces of bread. I don't hate Riya. I think Riya, it's a good twist. It's a good, like, character, you know, descending into, or conceptually, it's a good way to show a character descending to madness. I like her interactions with Connor. I like her interactions with Rosa. I think that twist in episode 10 where she steals the idol, that was really good. But I think episodes 4 to 9, or episodes 4 to, like, most of 10 could have been done a lot better, basically. A lot better. I'm gonna put her... I put her above Aiden. I'm gonna put her below Aiden. I'll put her here. Like, Riya's not bad. I think that there's a lot of Riya haters out there, and I think that's valid. I think that, for me personally, I can see the vision, so I can empathize a little more with the writers, but obviously the execution just was not great. Like, I don't think that it was out of nowhere. I think that there was seeds planted, but I think the seeds were not telegraphed nearly as well as they should have been. And then we have James, and I think James is the weirdest winner ever, because, like, not because he's like a villain turned hero. I think that's great. I think the fact that he was the villain at the very beginning of the season, who turned to like an anti-hero by the end of the season, is great. Granted, I do think that calling him a hero is a bit of a stretch, because it's like he likes Aiden. He does good stuff for Aiden. That's not being a hero. That's not being a hero. That's just being nice to one person, specifically who you want to date, right? That's not being a hero. I think that James is fine. It's like, whatever. I think that he overthrows Yule, which is like a good pivot moment. I think episode 6 is a very sweet moment where we get to see his vulnerability and how much he cares about Aiden. But between episodes 7 and 10, he is pretty much invisibilized. He gets almost nothing. Like, episode 9 he gets a decent amount, but he really takes the backseat for Aiden. And I get it, because Aiden is the small boy, and James is the big boy. So obviously the small, talkative, James is the brawn, Aiden's the brains. So obviously the brains has more of a narrator perspective of the game, and I get that. But, like, I don't know, James just, like, we don't really see his perspective on anything for 4 episodes, and he's just kind of there. So the fact that he ends up, like, returning, not returning to the game, but I mean, like, returning to the narrative in episode, like, 11, with the whole, the followers thing, it's just, like, I don't know, it feels so weird, because it feels like we were, like, especially as someone who watches it live, it feels like we went on pause for James for, like, a few months, and then suddenly he's relevant again, and it's like, whoa. It's like episode 6... episode 7, episode 10, it's just like, James is just very in the background, and so it's weird that he ended up winning in the end, just because, I don't know, like I don't need him to be front and center in episode 7 to 10, especially with storylines that he's not super relevant in anyway, but just having, like, a bit of perspective, or just having moments in the background where it's like, oh yeah, James is in this still, right, would really have helped make him better. I think that, I don't know, it's a 13-episode season, but since he's, like, not really there in 4 episodes, it feels like he has a 9-episode arc, and that's not awful, but, I don't know, there are some things that I think are not executed the best. Him being, like, cancelled, that's fine, I don't have any problems with that, but, I look at it objectively, and it's like, I don't really understand why he ended up winning in the end when, like, I don't know. Like I can see it in the end. It's like, oh, Riya pushed Aiden off a cliff. I have to win now. I have to defeat her because she hurt my love. But it's like, I don't know. And, like, he gets, like, he's always the decoy boot. Like, he's always, like, for episodes 7, 8, and 10, he always gets the second most votes, but he's never going home because, like, 1, he doesn't get any content, so he's not going to go home in episodes where he just doesn't get to do much of anything. and two, like, we don't really get to see him as a threat. Like, unless the character's like, oh, you should have seen James in the pre-merge. He was like this ruthless guy, you know. Do you see what he did to Carol and to Yule? Oh my god, beware of James. But no, we didn't really get that. He's just kind of a threat for, like, artifact reasons, I guess, because they needed him to be a threat. I don't know, I could have telegraphed that a bit more as to why James was always, like, in danger. And I get that, like, you know, on paper that sounds really cool. He's the one who's, like, always so close to being voted out, and he ends up winning in the end. But it's like, I want to see why he kept on getting votes. You know, I want to understand, you know, and, like, I can put my head into it and be like, okay, it's because he was kind of ruthless during those first few episodes. But it's like, I want the characters to reference that. I want them to mention, like, oh, that's why we're going for James, okay? We have to be careful of James. Instead of just, oh yeah, just vote for him, and you guess why he's the target. You assume why he's the target. Episodes 1, 2, 3. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. James is just, like, he's not smart. He's not smart, but that's the point. I get it. He's like this himbo. Like, he's not stupid, but he's like himbo-esque. You know, he's very cute. I love James. Ah, you dropped my dual stick. I want to get popcorn. I love James, but, like, man, I don't know. Even though he gets less content than Aiden, and we don't really see his perspective much at all up until the very end, I would put him above Aiden because I think that James has a very clear vision. I think that hero turned anti-hero, very easy to do. The passing of the torch moment, not the passing of the torch, but the dethroning of the previous villain with Yule, and then being the ultimate, you know, he's the lesser of two evils against him and Riya, and then his redemption with Aiden, and, you know, buying his love, and just, like, growing as a character. I think that's conceptually very cool. I think that it's executed pretty solid. I wouldn't say it's bad. I would say it's amazing, but I wouldn't say it's bad either. I'd say, like, you know, solid, like, 6, 7 out of 10. And, like, yeah, I think that it's weird that he's a winner, but I think he deserves it. I'm not annoyed with it. I just wish that when it comes to James, we had, you know, a bit more fleshing out. Because I think that when it comes to, like, another season, I really don't think James is what I want to see. I think he's good in this season, but for, like, a future season, I don't think we need him. I think it's like, we get it. We get his point. He's very... I think for being the big couple of the season, James and Aiden are not nearly as fleshed out as they could have been. And I don't think anyone really is. That's why no one is an S tier. But yeah, no, I think Disventure Camp Season 2 was overall a good try. I think that it had good moments. I think that there was definitely a lot of writing problems. But I think in the grand scheme of things, I'm not dissatisfied with the season. I wish there was a lot of things that were different. I wish that there were some things that were, you know, changed here and there. But at the end of the day, I think that the fanfics and the fan art that we can write, because, like, again, a lot of things are just implied or ambiguous or off-screen, and I think the fact that we can make headcanons and fan art and fanfictions of these moments is good. It's a good leaping point. And I know that's not really a great thing to say. It's like, I only like this season because there's so much up to interpretation. But, like, you know, from a quality perspective, I would give this a 5 out of 10. It's a serviceable attempt, and I think that in terms of future seasons, I think everyone, or most of everyone, you can really, like, okay, that was just the start. Here's where they really get fleshed out. I think it's a good starter season. How about that? Yeah, no, I mean, hey, I mean, like, if a future season is really, really good, then we can compare it and we'll be like, wow, that was a massive improvement, you know? You lower the bar so that anything you release will be that much higher. I don't know. That's a silver lining, I guess. So yeah, thank you all for watching this tier list. It's a very long video, but it's been a long time coming, and I hope you all enjoyed. So I'm gonna go rest my throat. I'm really tired. See you guys!